You weren't here our last meeting. So visual notes are meant for you to be able to understand information in more than just a verbal way and also a visual way. Lots of people are really left brain thinkers and they think linguistically and languagey. That's fine, but we want to start connecting visual images and almost our imagination to our notes and the things that we learn. The principles of art, or the principles of design, I tend to call them the principles of design, are the way the elements are put together or arranged. So if the elements of art are the building blocks, like we said, then the principle is what you make with those building blocks. So the principles are the wall or the tower or the castle that the elements make. So I'll write a couple of those in there. So I know that the principles of design, the wall, if my elements are the bricks. So the principles are how artists think about the elements that they're using and arrange them in their composition. Composition is another word for design or artwork. So when you're going through these notes, I want you to click the little audio things and listen to my voice, read the words, and actually look at the pictures and ask yourself, why did they choose this artwork for this image? So the first principle we're going to talk about, and I noticed some people doing these in their notes for the elements, how they had written the word in a way that described the word, which I thought was really, really cool. So what I mean by that, I'm going to make the first letter and the last letter of this word really big, and then I'm going to put them on a little teeter-totter. So balance is visual weight and where the elements are arranged and the visual weight that they carry. So what that means is every element, every shape, every line, every color, every form, every value, every texture has a sense of visual weight or a sense of gravity for your eye. So certain things are really eye-catching and they carry more visual weight. They pull my eye more. So here on this composition by Alexander Calder, he was really famous for making mobiles, the things that hang and spin around slowly with the air currents. You can kind of tell some of his flat paintings almost seem like they're plans for mobiles. So we have a big blue and a red circle on the top left of this composition. It's balanced out by this big red and yellow circle over here. We've got this big black organic line that cuts through. Black has a lot of visual weight. It's the darkest value. Black is the most powerful color in everything. Just remember that in life. These 3 black circles over here, they're smaller, but there's more of them, so they balance out the black on this side. So balance is the visual weight within a composition. And there are 3 types of balance that we're going to talk about. The first one is symmetrical. And based off the image, symmetry means that the elements on one side match or mirror the elements on the other side. So this is Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper, which is a story in the Bible. The forms, the lines, mirror each other down this middle vertical line. If I were to fold this painting in half in the middle, then this arch would line up with this arch. These 6 disciples would pretty much line up with these 6 disciples. Even the colors, there's this like kind of teal color that kind of unifies it. That's on both sides. So symmetrical balance, anytime I draw a rectangle like this, that's like the edge of my composition or the edge of my paper, my pretend artwork. Is where the elements match each other on both sides. So if I have a big green square on this side, I need to have a matching one on this side. If I have a thin yellow line on this side, I need a thin yellow line on that side. The next type of balance we have is asymmetrical balance. So it's the opposite of symmetrical balance. So symmetrical balance is where the things are the same. Okay, like my ears are symmetrical balanced. Asymmetrical balance is still balanced. That's very important. It's still balanced, but the elements on each side are different. So maybe this side has the big green square, but it's balanced out by smaller green circles. So they're not the same, but each side is balanced in its interest and visual weight. In this painting, The Whistler's Mother, you might have seen this painting, it's very famous. She carries a lot of weight on the right side and bottom corner of this artwork because she's wearing this big black dress, and it's balanced out by the big black kind of doorway, hallway on this side. If that painting ended right here, it would seem off balance, but this white square helps too as well. The last type of balance we have is radial balance. Now, radial is elements radiating from a center point. So see this close-up flower, this kind of tunnel with zooming things in it, tells me that radial balance lives in a circle. So even the way I'm going to write the word radial, I'm going to write it on a curve because the elements in radial balance all come out from a center point. So I might draw some lines, some arrows. I'm sorry I keep tilting my sketchbook. I know that's probably not helpful. Now, this right here, my little arrows, looks to me kind of like a lemon. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a lemon. So now not only do I have lines that tell me, okay, radial balance is the elements coming out from the center. I have those few arrows there. I also have an example of a subject that has radial balance. Maybe it's an orange. Kind of think of like sun rays, how things like radiate out. So your visual notes should kind of be fun, doodly, where you are giving your brain visual cues about what these things mean. So you'll notice I did not verbally write out the definitions for any of these types of balance. It's symmetrical and then an image that shows it. It's asymmetrical, an image that shows it. Radial, an image that shows it. That's what I want you to have too. You can also have the definitions written out by all means. If that's how you process things, by all means. But I want you to have those visual cues as well. I'm going to go ahead and skip emphasis because I think that's a pretty easy one you can probably figure out on your own, especially just even by the way that the word's written there. Because I want to talk about contrast. Contrast is strong differences in the visual elements. All right, because I keep wanting to tilt this, I wonder if I can angle my camera too. Okay. So contrast is differences. So even the way that I write the word contrast, I'm going to make different. So the first half of the word, tall, skinny letters, then I'm also going to make hot pink. And the back half, fat bubble letters, then I'm going to make green. This hot pink and these lime green are opposite colors. They have high contrast between each other. Most of the time when we talk about contrast, we're talking about contrast of the element of value, meaning contrast of light and dark. So there is high contrast and low contrast. High contrast, and this is of value, is really, really dark, dark blacks next to really, really bright, bright lights. Low contrast is where the values stay closer together. So there's not as much difference between the value or color or line. We can also have contrast of color, like I said, complementary colors, or colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, or colors that are dramatically different from each other, have high contrast. These are called complementary colors. The opposite of red is green. So that's high contrast. Colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. See, I'm starting to speed up my speech and slow down. Colors that are close to each other or analogous colors on the color wheel have low contrast, so they're not very strong in difference. So in contrast, just with these doodles, I can tell contrast is distinct differences. This is my contrast of value, both high and low, my contrast of color, high and low. And now I could add this is color and this is value, just to be clear. So you can add that if you want. The last one that I'm going to do with you is rhythm. Rhythm, I think, is the hardest principle to really define. I like to think of rhythm as the waves in an ocean. So when you're floating in an ocean, the waves are rhythmic, right? Like back and forth. But then a boat drove by and then it's like a bigger wave for a little bit. And then it kind of goes back. So rhythm, I always have to double check how to spell it. See, I already spelled it wrong. It's supposed to be an H down here. It's okay. I'm not grading spelling. So rhythm is kind of the up, down, push and pull repetition of elements. So I'm going to draw a little doodle of some waves down here. So when I look back at these, I'm going to see that and remember, oh yeah, Miss Cohagen said that rhythm is like the waves of an ocean. Creating rhythm in an artwork is about repeating elements in a natural and movement-oriented way. What I mean by that is, say I have a little composition and I have a focal point that's an organic shape. Maybe I help emphasize my focal point by adding more organic lines and shapes, but maybe they're not all exactly the same. Maybe they don't mirror each other exactly every line. So they're all really similar, but they're not exactly the same. So there's this feeling of consistency, kind of like a beat. I could also take another color and add a little bit of contrast and asymmetrical balance to it. So now that I also know that this has asymmetrical balance in it, I might connect that from my word asymmetrical up here. So I know, oh, both of these are examples of asymmetrical balance. Your visual notes, this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting lots of visual cues. If you want to write down the definitions, by all means, do that. But if you don't need to, if this is enough for you to like potentially take a open note quiz on these things, if this will help you answer every question correctly, perfect. If you think, oh, maybe I should write the definition as well, if I was going to be quizzed over this, being able to use my notes, that's a wink. Do it. Make them useful to you. Take a picture of these notes and upload them to slide 8. Okay, so slides 1 through 6 are the get to know you slides, and slide 7 and 8 are elements, visual notes, principles, visual notes. I am not going to post new content tomorrow. What I'm going to do is have you make sure every slide of your digital sketchbook is done and it's in the correct place and number. So I'll give you a little like slide 1, you know, title page, your name, your Bitmoji if you have it. But no new content tomorrow because it's Friday and it's a 3-day weekend and it's been a crazy time. So we can use a little bit of a rest. When you take pictures of your stuff, please do not like take a picture of your notes laying on the table so they look like this in your picture, okay? Take the picture straight on, nice and big, so I can actually read it. And when you insert it onto your slide, it's harder to do on your phone with the touch screen, like insert it there and then go back to your Chromebook and stretch it so it's big on the slide so I can actually see it. Some of you had stuff turned in yesterday and I returned it to you. If you got a grade, awesome. That's your grade for whatever you had turned in yesterday. So if you had your elements and you turn that in, awesome. That's what your grade is for. The 95, did I already say this? Tess, tell me. Okay, I've said this so many times today. The 95 is the A, okay? So that's the A+. I know it's not, I'm not typing it 100 because those are the same numbers that we put in Infinite Campus. So you'll either have a 95, which is the A, an 85, which is a B, a 75, which is a C, a 50, which is an F, or a 0, which means you're not doing things. Some of you are trying to be sneaky so you can tell your parents, no, Mom, look, I turned it in. I can show you here, but you haven't actually changed anything on the Google Slides. That won't work. That's not a trick. So don't try and do that. I will give you feedback in the form of comments. If you want specific feedback on something more than just like general feedback, ask a question in a comment, okay? Say, hey, I want feedback on this drawing that I did or something, if that makes sense. Okay, I have been recording this, so I'm gonna be able to post it to class, and I'll also post a video on how to find the link for those who are not here. If you have not picked up your supplies yet, and I just learned this today, I did not know, they're gone. They're not here anymore, so don't come. I'm sorry, Marcus. They'll come to your house, okay? The security staff is apparently driving all around town today, delivering supplies. So if you were supposed to come get them from the school but don't, and they're gonna come to you sometime today, maybe tomorrow. Okay, I think that's all the information that I need to give to you. Do you guys have any questions? Can you unmute your mics for a second and say hi? Zary, you found it. And before you leave, you need to type your name in the chat, your full name, for attendance purposes. Any questions? Brody, Brandon, you good?
How do we get into the chat?
For me, it's on the right side.
Top right.
Top right, yeah, that little top box. Now, guys, I have a question. Like, my grid doesn't show my face like how Zoom does. Can you guys see your faces in the grid?
Yeah.
It's really top right.
Like, I can only see mine if I click people and it's like tinier. I don't know, I don't like that. I'm gonna have to ask a teacher. Ren?
No, you can see yourself like on the grid. It's like you go to your picture and you click on like the grid picture and it shows yourself.
Wait, what do I do? Tell me again.
So can you see yourself in the top right?
Yes.
Click on the grid.
Show in a tile. Oh, Brody. Awesome. You're my favorite today. Okay. Once you've typed your name, you are free to exit. Thank you so much, Brody. That just made my day. Email me if you have questions.
Okay, bye.
Bye.